This week on Marae, show me the money.
It would be great to have those who are entitled to those funds to be united, reunited with their money. I'm sure the whānau would be happy about that.
Māoridom's unclaimed millions. Then, safety in the sea.
He kaitia ki mātou mo te moana, ne?
And celebrating Ngāti Whakaue.
E aku whakateitei, e aku whakaike tēnā rā koutou katoa.
Haere mai rā, kia marae I tēnei ata.
Well, we could probably do a whole series on the stories behind the unclaimed funds held by Te Tumu Paeroa.
That's right, there's millions just sitting, waiting to be claimed by missing Māori landowners. We found the whānau in line to receive the largest payout on Te Tumu Paeroa's books.
It looks like pretty hard country, eh? How an elderly woman back in that era would possibly get here and turn some of this bush into usable garden, it's just beyond me.
It's taken more than a century for Ruhi Moinana's whanaunga to get close to her land. She never saw it herself.
It's a really sad story. In 1860s, Māori in the South Island started to complain that there were Māori without any land. 1886, Alexander Mackay journeyed around the South Island compiling a further list of names and identifying people who needed lands, submitted to the Crown. And in 1908, the Silna Land Act and the land grants came about. Here's this elderly woman staying with her relations, her near relations in Kaiapoi, dependent on them, with no immediate family of her own, no income, no land of her own.
In 1909, Ruhi was granted shares in the Alton block.
For Ruhi was 14 years too late. She died in 1894. But for the aroha shown to her by some of her near relations, her life could have been even more miserable.
Over $5 million is owed to Māori landowners. That cash is sitting in vaults like this. Believe it or not, the lowest amount owed is just 1 cent. The average amount, $80. For this, 70K is the largest outstanding amount.
The new Māori trustee, Te Tumu Paeroa, manages 60,000 unclaimed monies accounts. Ruhi Moinana's account has been growing since 1911. Her whānau is in line for that 70K payday. But if Joseph didn't work at Ngai Tahu's whakapapa unit, he'd have been none the wiser.
One of my workmates found a letter that had been filed under miscellaneous, I guess. I made the connection between one of the listed successors as one of my ancestors. So I started to make some inquiries and started to dig. That was about December 2009. I made a call home to Mum and I said, "Are you sitting down?" And she said, "Why?" And she sort of went, "Holy."
An hour out of Invercargill, this local feels sorry for Māori landowners.
Yeah, they say the government's got them by the ball.
Joseph's road to succession also runs to the Māori Land Court. What have you learned from this?
Big wheels move slowly.
The first challenge is for prospective owners to complete their succession and to provide the material and evidence that the court requires to establish that they are entitled to succeed to those interests.
So it's a whakapapa really process, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It can be a major research project, but all of the records are held within the Māori Land Court. We regard those records as being a receptacle of whakapapa. They are a taonga, therefore they need to be obviously handled carefully. In situations where you have long outstanding successions, very often the answer will be there.
Big Central North Island trusts are now employing people to find their missing owners. Putting aside the issue of who'd pay, could it work nationally to cut the 60,000 unclaimed monies accounts?
I really do agree with that. It would be great to have those who are entitled to those funds to be united, you know, reunited with their money. I'm sure the whānau would be happy about that.
There are no images of Ruhi, only of descendants of her two siblings who, for unknown reasons, did not succeed to her interests.
Looking at the draft submission by the Māori Land Court, there were about 120 people who are identified as being entitled to share in that succession. In my mum's case, through her mother, she may receive maybe $200.
And his share?
My reward will be that, you know, I guess one day that woman might bump into me in the afterlife and say, "Tūna moko," and my aunties and my uncles might just give me a little bit of a wink or a pat or a kiss.
That wink is within sight now.
You can't help but be moved by the beauty of the place. You know, it's good for your wairua. It's good for the spirit. Oh, it looks like about as far as we're going to get today. Oh, I hope the journey just continues on and Ruahi's legacy finds its way to her descendants.
And earlier I spoke with the Māori Trustee, Jamie Tuuta. Now Jamie, 60,000 accounts, what's wrong with your processes that you're unable to connect Māori landowners to Māori land?
We're of the view that there's nothing wrong with our processes, but there is a structural issue that needs to be overcome, and that really is one of going back to look and identify what the key challenge is here, and it's really a consequence of the individualisation of title and what flows from that. Basically the fact that with fragmentation of lands there's a requirement for individuals to succeed to their interests, and that's one of the key challenges that we face as an organisation.
But do you think the Māori Trustee is doing enough to find missing landowners?
I think we're doing a fantastic job to date. Like anything, we can always do more, but we have a range of initiatives. One of our key strategies is to raise the awareness of who we are and what we do, and make it much more easier for people to find us through channels like an 0800 number that we have, also our website, which has a list of unclaimed monies and who those individuals are, a search function. We've been throughout the country at our meetings of owners. We also promote unclaimed monies, and we've been at events like Matatini. So it's really one of encouraging people to contact us. Linked to that, of course, is whānau taking individual responsibility. And also doing their part to make contact with us. And it is a challenge, but it's something that we're certainly sort of comfortable with what we're doing at present, and really happy with some of the initiatives that we have. 12,000
people log on to your website or visit your website every month. How many of them, of that 12,000 people, have you connected to their land interests?
So we don't have the exact amounts because we don't currently track those that sort of connect with our web page and then sort of follow that through. However, the pleasing thing about the fact that we do have 12,000 people making contact with that particular page is the fact that our communication strategy is working, that people are coming to our website, they are utilising the search function, and when I travel throughout the country, people often talk to me about the fact that they've visited the website. They may not have any unclaimed monies themselves, but they know of people that do, and so I continue to encourage them to talk with their whānau, to also come onto the website and then make contact with our office.
But people are contacting you, people are visiting the website, but they're still not actually, the connection to their land is still not happening.
So that's a really important point, Scotty. So that's a consequence of the fact that many of the 60,000 unclaimed, the 60,000 amount in terms of unclaimed monies is a consequence of the fact that many of these interests have yet to be succeeded to. And so that's a process that is outside of our control. We encourage people to process their successions or make applications through the Māori Land Court, and that's really out of our control, but something we encourage. And it's a challenge because for some it's not an easy process, so we need to think about ways in which we can make that much more easy for owners, and there's a cost to it. And for some, and this is sort of comments that I've had, they've said, well, it's not a large amount of money, Jamie. You know, we know Koro's interests are there, and for us the thing that is most important is our connection to the land rather than the unclaimed monies that sit in an account. One
of the criticisms is, Jamie, that it's not in your best interest to actively search for unknown owners. What do you say to that?
Well, we are actively looking at ways in which we can promote our unclaimed monies list. And so, as I said earlier, we've got a range of initiatives. Our strategy is
so
one
some of those
making
initiatives are more passive than active, though, aren't they? Like a website is a more passive initiative. Free phone numbers are passive initiatives. Probably an active initiative might be the going out to gatherings like Te Matatini and being a face there and promoting the Māori Trustee. But a lot of your initiatives are actually passive, aren't they?
Oh, it's a combination of both passive and active channels. So we hold a number of meetings of owners throughout the country each year. Through that process, we invite owners to meetings. So for this financial year, for example, we're holding 350 meetings of owners throughout the country. Those owners that have a connection to those blocks will receive notice. We also promote all of those various channels. We run what is called Google campaigns, which have been very successful in terms of those particular advertisements on the web, also through Facebook. Events like Matatini. Last year I did a roadshow throughout the country. I went to all of the regions throughout the country. We had over 2,000 people attend those roadshows, and of course actively encouraging people to make contact with our office and encourage their whānau to do so also.
Mm-hmm. How many people have you actually found? How many landowners have you actually found? We did a bit of research, we found one. How many have you found?
I don't have the exact number, so it varies from time to time. So I know, depending on the sort of particular situation, there are large numbers, but I think, as I said earlier, there's a structural issue here. Many of the 60,000 are those owners that are either deceased or their interests are yet to have been succeeded to by their whānau. We have one particular example where there is $70,000 sitting in an unclaimed monies account, and that's a large amount of money. And then the owners or the descendants of that particular owner went through a process, and there were 346 descendants of that particular owner. And when you sort of look at that across all 346 owners, that averaged out to be about $140 per owner. But the reality is that one of the challenges moving forward is the fact that this number could potentially grow as a consequence of further succession.
Jamie, just to finish off, are Māori landowners a tough bunch to police?
Māori landowners are a fantastic group to work with, and I say that with all sincerity. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, one of the key aspects of our strategy is encouraging our owners to have high aspirations for their lands and assets. And so I always sort of talk to my staff, and when I travel the country, it's only right that Māori landowners have certain expectations of us in terms of what we deliver and offer. And that's always a challenge, because it's always difficult from time to time to ensure that expectations can be met, but also having the right conversations, ensuring that Māori landowners understand our role, what we do, but also understand what responsibilities and obligations they have as Māori landowners. So it's a fantastic space, but as I say, it is challenging, and it does require a certain amount of courage to overcome some of these challenges that we face.
Ka rawe uranga tira e Jamie e mihi ana ki a koe mō I whakawātea mai a koe kia marae I tēnei ata. Ka te hae te iwi, if you want to know more, you can find a link on our Facebook page or contact Te Tumu Paeroa on their free phone number 0800 943 682, that's 0800 943 682, or email tetumupaeroa.co.nz.
Well, Labour weekend is the time of year drowning statistics ramp up as more people use the water. Thankfully, it's also the start of the surf lifeguard patrol season. 1 in 5 people who drown are Māori. The Surf Lifesaving Northern Region is trying to change the statistic by training more Māori to become lifeguards. We went to Auckland's Bethells Beach to meet some new recruits.
I just love being out here. I enjoy every moment that I'm in the water. You don't really see many Māori out here.
Oscar Hari's been training for this day for 2 months.
I was quite nervous coming into the theory stuff, but it was good because I studied for it.
To become a lifeguard, you have to swim 400 metres in under 9 minutes. Oscar did that in under 6. You need first aid skills. You need to know how to use radio communications. And of course, knowing how to rescue someone is key. Lillian Hanley has patrolled Bethells Beach for 7 years and knows exactly how hard the lifeguard exams are.
he momo whakamatautau kia whakaako ki ngā tangata hau I ngā momo āhuatanga o tēnei mahi. Ka whakamatautau I ngā tangata katoa ki ngā momo mahi rereke o tēnei mahi. Nā reira, he huarahi hei timata me ki.
Now there's a new initiative called the Diversity Project that's providing free gear and training to get more Māori and other ethnic groups volunteering as lifeguards. Although Oscar's not a diversity candidate, he was inspired by whānau to become a lifeguard.
My older cousin, Miro, she used to go here. She used to be a pretty good lifeguard, so thought I'd carry on kind of her legacy kind of thing. And then 2 of my cousins have just joined, so kind of starting up a family thing.
The Grant sisters have been making it a family affair for more than 10 years.
Ko tēnei mahi he mea tino kai ngākau ki au, nā te mea he whānau kotahi mātou katoa, tino pai mo te haura, te tinana, te hinengaro, me te wairua hoki.
I joined when I was 7 or so because I was scared of the water and my dad wanted to get me more confident in the water and in the sea.
Both sisters are passionate about water safety.
It's kind of a New Zealand thing to go to the beach, and it's just really important to know know the beach and know where to swim and not to swim, because a lot of people do drown every year, and so it's just important to know your surroundings.
Living on an island, we are surrounded by so much water. We love our kaimoana. We love to swim. Our babies love to swim, and it's really important that we protect them and that we teach them about the conditions of the beach. E he kaitiaki mātou mo te moana, ne?
Knowing how to handle the conditions can save your life.
Tētahi wā I raru a hau, I roto I te wai, I te kaukau mātou ki tāu ngā toka me ki roto I ngā ana, he mea tākuru, he mea paima mātou, engari e tahi wā ka raru. And I raru a hau, I tatau, tino tatau ki ngā toka, engari nā tōku, nā oku pūkenga mai tēnei mahi, e mōhio au kia tau tōku ngākau, kia kaua e ohorere, kia kaua e whakaaro, this is it, kei mate au pia. I tau au, e ni whakaaro, kei te pai, me kautonu, me whana tonu, ka puta au, e ni pai au.
Pia Goldsmith from Te Araroa has been a lifeguard for 15 years, and now she instructs other guards how to be confident in the ocean.
There's nothing like being shown the power of the sea. You learn your place when you get into these waves, and you really understand and respect it so much better.
Her message to whānau heading to the beach is a simple one.
Don't swim outside of patrol hours, or in patrol hours, making sure you're swimming between the flags. Here at Bethel's, as far as I know, we've never had a death in patrol hours. We've never had a death when there's been lifeguards here to help, and that's the important part. We can't save you if we're not here.
What would you say to Māori whānau who have been going to certain areas, certain beaches for generations?
Yeah, there's that relationship with the water, and that's when it's like, we need you to become surf lifeguards. We want to know that if we can't save your whānau, then you're there to save your whānau.
And Oscar's whānau are leading the way, now that he's a qualified lifeguard.
It feels pretty good, and it's just feels like I've accomplished more than just becoming a lifeguard, but being part of a good social group. It's just real cool to be a part of.
The next lifeguard recruits start training in November, and Surf Lifesaving Northern Region are keeping an eye out for more young Māori to join their diversity project and train towards keeping swimmers safe.
And it's not just swimmers being advised to keep safe heading into the warmer months. Maritime New Zealand is also urging boaties to use Labour Weekend to fix their vessels and check safety gear. 52 people have drowned this year, 11 of them Māori.
Auckland, the city of sails. 1 in 4 Auckland households owns a boat or water vessel, but last year the region had the highest number of drowning deaths.
We're talking about lives here. I mean, would you really want to put your family at risk?
Damien Poi grew up in Gisborne, where his whānau taught him how to use and respect the water.
G'day, how you going?
Now he makes a living keeping water users safe at sea.
What we're doing today is we're getting out with our boat safety campaign weekend that's kicked off from the 17th to the 24th of October. Okay. You've got spare fuel cans, and you've got You got your life jackets ready to go.
Spare motor.
You got your spare motor, and that's fantastic, and that's what we want to see.
Well, you need to wear them, don't you? That's what I've got them, as you can see. Yeah.
Do you wear them when you go out, or do you just, as you...
No, I wear them. If you make it compulsory, some people won't wear them just out of spite, I suppose. I don't know.
It's compulsory to have life jackets on board for every person, but it isn't mandatory to wear them. Damien says it's compulsory in Australia and should be here.
Hey guys, enjoy your day.
He'd also like to see recreational boats either licensed or safety checked, similar to a vehicle warrant of fitness.
Māori people tend to have quite old vessels, and they keep them in their sheds and keep them tied up for quite some time, and if they're not being in proper use on a regular basis, then the maintenance and the safety gets neglected. It sounds like that motor needs to have a service.
But he's not laughing at the excuse it's expensive to have a safe vessel or safety gear.
It really isn't a lot of money to maintain a boat and keep it seaworthy and safe on the waterways, but you can't put a cost on a person's life.
Damien says Labour weekend is a good time to safety check water vessels and gear. But it's also the time of year when accidents and deaths in the water starts to ramp up.
When you do a good clean-up like this, you can see if there's any cracks or dents or where there's any issues where it needs to have some running repairs or maintenance.
For the past 5 years, an average 110 people have drowned every year, 71% in waterways.
It's one thing to have a safe vessel on the water, but at the same time, the skipper and the operator knows it has to learn how to be able to operate that vessel in any given condition, in any given environment. And so we've got a young girl here who's probably only about maybe 7, 8 years old. That's probably the best time you want to start teaching your kids about safety awareness and safety culture.
He believes educating people on water safety will decrease risk and stop accidents or deaths. Training on marae is one proposal.
If we could adopt that type of principle for the Māori people and for marae people-based training, I think that would go a long way in terms of, raising awareness and also prepping our people when they're out there on the water, undergoing whatever activity on the water that they're going to be doing.
He's pleading with whānau to be responsible water users and stay off craft if there's a safety concern.
If we don't feel safe, if we don't feel confident that getting in that vessel is going to be safe for us, then we don't do it. Are you willing to put your family's life at risk, And if you are, then you shouldn't be on the waterways.
In Rotorua, Te Arawa tribe Ngāti Whakaue celebrate identity at Ohinimutu with dance, song and humour. Recently we joined the first Ngāti Whakaue cultural festival, Whakanuia Whakaue.
He mea whakaopeope ai, te iwi ake, o whakaue, ngā uri o whakaue kai pāpā. He mea whakakotahi, he mea e kite ai ngā uri whakaheke I te tino o tēnei mea te iwi. Ahako he maha ke ngā iwi putanua, engari koenei te rangi e kite ai rātou, haere ake nei, tēnei mea te tino o te iwi I roto I tētahi iwi matua.
And being from Te Arawa, we're not used to having photos taken of us for free. Ngāti Whakaue! kia hau he tāne no Ngāti Whakaue, he tāne he tangata I tupu ake I ngā reke o te moana o Rotorua nei. He tangata me he mea ka tiro atu au ki te mautere kei muri a hau ko te motu tapu a tini rau. Ko mohi o nei, kei ta kāinga.
Tairua taru wha, Ngāti Whakaue! Ko te wai o tau whai a Kayne, ko te kawenga o tō mātou rau aroa, ki tō mātou koeke, ara wini rangi tauira!
Well, thanks for joining us. We hope you're having a safe and enjoyable Labour weekend. Stay tuned for Whakahuia as they investigate the creation of a traditional Māori world for newly released action movie, The Deadlands, which you've seen.
I've seen it 3 times. Awesome movie, awesome.
How did you get to see it 3 and I haven't seen it even once?
I translated it into Māori, so they let me go and watch a bit of it. Ko te mihi a tēnei kia koutou katoa e aku mō toi kahurangi o te ti, aku hei pū whero o te tā, kia ora tātou katoa.